KTM versus Aprilia, single versus twin.
Another hot day, another hot comparison. Which is the best sub 500cc naked? That's what we are here to find out. Now, there is no replacement for displacement, and obviously the Aprilia with the extra around say 60 odd cc's and more crucially 6 more Nm makes it count when compared to the KTM, because this accelerates from 0 to 100 in no time and reaches some serious triple digit speeds faster than I said this sentence, right? And the KTM, yes, it is still a very quick motorcycle, but this is quicker. And yes, this is lighter, but this makes use of that 6 Nm much better.
Exactly, Jehan, because it's a twin cylinder, it has extra torque. The 270-degree firing order means that the mid-range of this motorcycle is very, very strong. You can ride both these motorcycles in one gear higher in the city, but just on the Aprilia, it feels much more natural. It just pulls through cleaner, easier in that sense. Another aspect where the Aprilia has the bigger edge over the KTM is refinement, because twin is for the win. The twin cylinder engine is very refined. The KTM, yes, it is more refined than the older engines, but in terms of refinement, there is no comparison among these two motorcycles. And the same aspect goes for the gearbox also. The shift quality of the Aprilia just feels so much better. It's so much crisper. It feels like you're just triggering a shot. Tap, tap. That shift quality is so nice. The KTM, yes, it has a quick shifter as standard and it works very well. But I think the overall gearbox quality of the Aprilia is better. Clutch action of both the motorcycle is very light. So in terms of riding in the city, both the motorcycles are pretty easy to commute. But the Aprilia, because of the stronger mid-range, just feels easier to ride in the city. And the Aprilia is more versatile because you can go quick, you can go chill, while on the KTM, it just wants to go brap.
And that's the thing, right? This is a little too sensible, a little too matured for, say, my liking at least, right? Now, I'll be biased a little bit because this is my own very bike. But the fact of the matter is, the reason why I liked it so much is that feel it gives you that brappy KTM feel that you want exactly when you are buying a motorcycle of this sort. This sort of sensitizes you to, say, higher speed, whereas this makes you feel part of the action, like you're a superstar of a movie, right?
Kind of, yes, it has that KTM character DNA going for it. But I think I am older than Jehan, clearly, so I like this engine much more than the KTM. And let's move on to fuel efficiency. I think in terms of efficiency, there's not much of a difference. Both are between 22 to 25 kmpl, depending on the speeds you ride at. And fuel tank capacity is also the same.
13 liters, 15 liters, and those 2 liters are going to be extremely crucial when you're out touring, in case if you decide to go touring on these two motorcycles.
Moving on, I think in terms of sheer performance, the twin is for the win. The Tuono, too good.
So now let's keep the excitement going, and the reason why you buy such performance motorcycles is to have great cornering fun. And both of these are lovely, lovely handlers. Both take a very different approach to cornering, but both are equally fun. The KTM is sharp, focused, and can be a little unnerving at first, and you'll take some time getting used to it, whereas that is poised, calm, composed, but not as, say, rewarding as the RS 457 or for that matter the Duke, because the Duke is just whang 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 like a mini scalpel, whereas this is a little bit, say, I'll take you along, I'll help you, come along with me, we'll take it chill, right?
It is more forgiving of the two motorcycles and easier to ride of the two motorcycles. The KTM, as you mentioned, needs skill. Same thing was with the RS 457. Both this motorcycle had the similar DNA where if you had the skill, you would be rewarded. That's not the case with the Tuono 457. It's much more easier, calmer, gives more confidence, even accepts your mistakes, which isn't the case with the KTM. So yeah, in terms of handling, both have their own charm about it. Now moving forward to the braking aspect, the brakes, almost a similar kind of disc brakes, the setup is same, but the bite on the Aprilia just lacks because the kind of performance this motorcycle has, you're always like a bit worried when you're hard braking. It just doesn't have the bite, the brake doesn't have the feel. That's not the case with the KTM. It's very sharp, very progressive, gives a lot of feedback.
Yeah, and that's why one of the things is that when I was entering a corner, I had to back off really, really early on the Aprilia, and I couldn't carry the speed which I necessarily wanted to. And again, ABS intervention on that just kicks in.
Random.
Yeah, whereas this, with its say 6-axis IMU aided, lean sensitive, all the fancy gizmos and whatnot, really helps, and it's very subtle intervention.
Yeah, plus it also has cornering ABS, which is again a big step up compared to the Aprilia. So in terms of braking, I think you have to first change the pads on this motorcycle, because I think the stock pads aren't that great.
Get the Duke's pads, okay, because Aprilia will charge you around say 8,000 rupees for the fancier sintered pads, whereas the Duke's pads, stock ones, cost around 2,000 rupees. So just get it, it's the same caliper.
Yeah, I think that will help in terms of the braking performance of the Aprilia. Now moving on to the tires, the stock tires on the Aprilia are just beautiful. Those TVS Protox give so much grip, so much confidence. They allow you to lean into the corners, even though you don't have the skill, but the tires are like, tension mat le, main hu. But that's not the case with the stock tires of the KTM. They were very under tired, right?
Yeah. So KTM, when it first came out all the 10, 11 years ago, got us those lovely Metzeler Sportec M5Ws. And second gen 390 came and like Sportec M5, but H. So H went down, same thing came onto this, and when I initially bought the bike, for the first 2,500 kilometers, I was just crying. Thankfully, I've swapped them out for these Seat Sport Rides. I have put on roughly around say another 6,000 kilometers, and these are still living up to it. Like the grip levels are phenomenal. So if you are getting this bike, definitely consider either the Protox or the Seat Sport Rides, or even the Rise Moto Trace Rides. These are some of the best Indian made tires that you can get for these sort of motorcycles.
The great part about the tires coming from the Indian brands is like Indian brands have stepped up the quality of their tires. Second thing, they are affordable compared to the European rivals. So I think that's a good thing for the Indian motorcyclists. They have so many options to upgrade to and at an affordable price tag. So in terms of handling, even though they have a different approach, but the kind of nature of both the motorcycle is same. Both want to enjoy corners, have fun, but take a different approach. Braking, clearly the KTM is the clear winner in terms of bite, but also the fact that it also has cornering ABS. So yeah, KTM wins. So guys, let's move on to comfort, and the first aspect that we have to address is the suspension. Again, the hardware is similar on both the motorcycles, upside down fork, monoshock suspension, but the KTM is adjustable. In fact, even apart from being more adjustable, the standard stock setting also of the KTM is much more absorbent. I think the suspension setting is more for the Indian roads compared to the Aprilia. Aprilia, the setting is same as the RS457, but slightly better in terms of the ride quality because of the way you sit on the motorcycle. The front is still fine, but the rear is a bit tossy because it doesn't have that amount of damping. So if you're going over undulations or speed breakers, take it slow, otherwise you will go hopping on the seat. That's not the case with the KTM, because the KTM suspension is a revelation for a motorcycle of that handling. To have that kind of damping, I think KTM just nailed the suspension, plus the fact that you can tune the suspension. Both are adjustable, so you can work upon it based on your weight, based on your riding. Another aspect which is plus point for the KTM. Second thing is the ground clearance. Aprilia, again being Italian, haven't divulged the details of the ground clearance, but visually we can see that the KTM has the edge. So while we haven't scraped the bottom while going over undulations or broken roads, but on big speed breakers, maybe the Aprilia might bottom out. That's not the case with the KTM. In fact, the Gen 3, the ground clearance went up compared to the Gen 2. So clearly KTM India knows what they are doing for the Indian roads and the Indian audience, right?
Yeah, and it's interesting because when you said the rear feels tossy, it sort of reminds you like a first gen 390 Duke, right?
Yeah.
So this is their first gen proper naked, so we can give them some, say, leeway as such. But you talked about the way you sit on the two motorcycles, and both of these motorcycles from the saddle don't feel particularly big, right? So low seat heights, 800 both as stock. You can kit this bike out with the larger, taller 820 seat, and that costs another say 2,500 rupees. And I definitely recommend, if you are say somebody who is 5'6" and above, definitely get the 820 seat height, because not only will that make your space increase on the saddle, but it will also feel less cramped on the lower half, which is a big issue on the Tuono, because when you start riding for longer durations, the Tuono just feels too cramped. The seat to foot peg distance is very less. Furthermore, your legs have to be spread wider on the Tuono because of the swing arm jutting out, and you can constantly feel the swing arm moving if you are say riding it sportily. So when you hug it with the heel, so that is an area where the Aprilia feels like a letdown. Of the two, this certainly feels like the bigger bike, but yeah, not really big bikes as such. If you
The good part about the Aprilia is the way you sit on the motorcycle. I think the riding posture feels much more relaxed compared to the KTM. The fuel tank shape is better. You lock the tank better. The saddle space, stock to stock, it's much better on the Aprilia. So if you're on the bigger side like me, it will be better. But if on the taller side, as Jehan mentioned, the problem is the foot peg to the seat distance feels a bit cramped. So had they kind of worked upon that, the ergonomics of the Aprilia would have been better. Again, like the KTM, you don't have an option of fixing it, so you will have to live with it. But I think both the motorcycles are pretty comfortable compared to the RS457. This is much more comfortable. Same case with the RC390 to the Duke. I think the riding posture still slightly, I think the Aprilia has the edge, but the KTM has the space.
But you know what? The KTM has the better pillion seating space, right? Yeah. We complained so much of the previous gen KTMs ki, where will I make the pillion sit, or where will larger pillion sit? But look at that pillion seat. It's so chota, it's so tiny, it's so made for Italian supermodels, I get it. But India mein ho bhai, at least thoda to hatte katte khate pite logo ke liye banao. So comfort wise, you can clearly see that this is couple of generations ahead, so they've understood the market better, and that's why the KTM has the edge here.
Absolutely, they have the edge over here. So in terms of comfort, in terms of the overall ergonomics also, because of the space advantage of the KTM, again the KTM wins. Moving on, let's talk about design. Again, design wise, I don't like the headlight of this motorcycle. Why did Aprilia made this design? Like, they already had the Tuono design language. They should have just carried it forward on the Tuono 457. Not a big fan of that headlight. I think overall the motorcycle looks nice, but that headlight kind of, nah.
That's not the only issue on the Aprilia, it's also the issue on the KTM. Like, just remove these two headlights of both these bikes and the bikes look brilliant. But why are these two headlights designed like this? Like, this has a prong which is coming out like this, that has a wing which is coming out like this. Aisa kya wakada tikada banaya?
But still, I think the KTM somehow goes with the design language of the bike. Also, the headlight design is similar to the second generation. It has a bit of elements. This has no elements from the past, from the present. Like, it looks very weird. I don't know why. Now, Italian design is known for their flair. I don't think so there is any flair over there.
They did Indian market research. They said that looked a little too slim. This looks muscular. I don't know in what manner. Moving on, you look at the plastic qualities and the build quality. Both are certainly world-class products, but that has the edge.
Clearly, like made in Baramati, but the quality level of the Tuono 457 is absolutely next level. The way the frame has been made, the casting of the frame, there are no wires visible. The weld quality is better than the KTM. Yes, KTM quality has improved a lot compared to the Gen 1. But I think when you see the motorcycle in person, you can just make out that this is a more premium motorcycle just by the way it looks, the panel gaps, everything looks nice on this motorcycle.
When it comes to features, the basic feature set both of them have, like LED headlight, TFT console, Bluetooth connectivity, call and message alerts, turn-by-turn navigation, whatnot. But on the Aprilia, the riding electronic aids are not as sophisticated, firstly. Secondly, you have to pay 20,000 rupees extra to get the quick shifter.
That's a lot of money.
And you have to pay around 1,000 rupees more to get a USB charger. all of which is standard on the Duke, right?
Exactly.
So already an expensive bike. Furthermore, this adjustable brake lever is also an accessory. It's not stock, and for that you have to pay around 8,000 rupees.
What?
Yeah. So why Italian pricing for an India-made bike?
Yeah, I think in terms of features, clearly KTM has the edge, and that's not a surprise because always KTM has set the benchmarks for the segment. It is close to the KTM in terms of the features, but as you said, if you have to pay for a quick shifter, for a adjustable lever, that's just adding cost more and more and more, and kind of takes away the cost factor. Another aspect that I wanted to mention was the switchgear quality. Again, the switchgear quality of the KTM, man, that is better than the Aprilia, and also I think the UI of the KTM is better. It's easier from wherever you want to go through the settings. So yeah, in terms of the features, again, KTM has the edge. Not a surprise over here, but Aprilia is very close in terms of the electronics.
True. And that should quickly bring us to the verdict.
Yeah, let's go to the verdict. So let's get pricing out of the way. The Aprilia is 1 lakh rupees more than the KTM. Yes, for that extra cylinder, you have to pay 1 lakh rupees extra. And in the end of the day, these are not very affordable motorcycles because even the KTM is 3 lakh rupees. This is almost 4 lakh rupees. So in terms of value, yes, the KTM has the edge. But do you think that 1 lakh extra is justifiable on the Aprilia?
I think that is not the right way to say quantify the difference or say is it worth it or not, because these are two very solid and lovely performance nakeds, right? And we should be happy that we have these bikes in the country.
And the fact that they are manufactured in India.
Yeah, KTM was the king, or should I say is still the king, but earlier it was unchallenged. There is a new contender to the throne. It has not displaced the KTM, but it is still so very lovely. It's definitely the quicker motorcycle of the two. It's definitely the more, say, confidence inspiring, mature, sensible, and yet a little fun in the, say, learning way, right? Whereas the KTM still retains that raw, mental, manic, that edginess that you loved from the first gen, but it also marries it with the sharpness and the finesse of the second gen. And in that sense, this turns out to be a slightly, say, better all-rounder. So it's definitely fun in the twisties, nice in commutes, and definitely better on tours.
Yeah, so the KTM, I think the third generation 390 Duke is more sophisticated than the older versions. The Aprilia, I think, is a very distinctive motorcycle in that sense. It has a very distinct character. It is versatile than the KTM because it can do the chill riding, it can do the fast riding. Again, I think they have a different target audience and a different kind of bias. The KTM just feels younger, youthful, more engaging. The Aprilia also has that feel of fun, but it likes to keep it things calmer, easier, better. So maybe for a matured audience like me, who's like in his mid-30s, I would prefer the Aprilia over the KTM. But the fact is, price is high. 1 lakh rupees is 1 lakh rupees. But the bigger problem for the Aprilia is more than the pricing is the availability of the motorcycle. It is not easily available. Like even in Mumbai, there's only one dealership, a Motorplex dealership where you can just buy.
Pune doesn't have a Motorplex. I have to go to Pimpri Chinchwad. I know it might sound confusing, but it's the twin city of Pune.
Exactly. So I think the dealership network of the Aprilia has to increase for this motorcycle because the RS457 is very popular among the bikers. Same with the Tuono 47. So there is demand, but the motorcycle needs to be available. The other aspect of the Aprilia is that the engine issues that has been reported. There have been reports of the engine gasket head blowing off, and there have been some issues on the motorcycle. And I don't think so that's a good thing for the buyers because they have spent so much money. They expect quality and reliability. So Aprilia, I hope that this is a one batch issue, but we'll have to wait and watch and follow the story whether or not it was just one batch like the KTM. Particularly this motorcycle. Okay, the engine had to be replaced. So
Not one batch. This was even a smaller unit.
Engine replaced hua hai na bas. So again, in that sense also both these motorcycles are so similar and close to each other.
But spares
engines are blowing up.
But spares and service. Yeah. There is no way that Italian pricing can beat Bajaj pricing.
Bajaj to bhai.
Yeah.
Hamara Bajaj. Again, spare parts, definitely the Aprilia will be more premium. So Upfront cost is high. Maintaining the motorcycle will be expensive. So yeah, that is a trade-off for Italian engineering. So in terms of value aspect, just not the pricing, but also the maintenance and service cost of the KTM will be better. As we mentioned, these two are very distinctive motorcycles. They have their own character. If you want something fun, fast, but matured, a slightly bit more sophisticated, plus the Aprilia brand, Tuono makes sense. You have to pay the extra money. But as an overall all-rounder, for the sheer value aspect, for the tech, for the fun aspect, for the handling, and for the comfort also, I think the KTM still is the king here, because the overall package, what they're offering. Yes, people might say that we are KTM fanboys and whatnot, but come on, yeah, you have to agree to the fact that they are offering you so much tech for such a nice price point, so much fun for this price point. What else do you need? So Jayan, you think you made the right decision by getting the 390 Duke?
Oh yes, I definitely made the right decision, and even though I had an engine change on it, I still love my bike, because after that I have not had a single issue on this bike. And also I've customized it to my liking, and that's what it gives me, right? The joy, and that is why you want to own a bike like this.
Anyways, Jehan has a bias for his KTM. I don't. I'm more open-minded.
Hey, you're also KTM owner.
But I'm more open-minded. As we mentioned, both the motorcycles are great fun, superb motorcycles, distinct in their nature. So identify what kind of a rider you are, and if you have the right budget, pick your choice. You will not be disappointed with either of the two.
Just take any of them, you'll have fun, yaar. Just.
So what's your take on our verdict, and what's your take on our comparison? Please do let us know in the comments. What's your opinion? What's your feedback? What you would like to watch in the future? Please let us know.
How can we improve this? Also, do let us know in the future. Don't forget to like and share this video. Subscribe to our channel, hit the bell notification icon, and please wear proper riding gear on all your rides. Stay safe.
Ciao.